Hi everyone, I'm Adriana Alvarado Garcia. I am a research staff member at IBM Research, and today I'm very excited of presenting the research paper, Mobilizing Social Media Data, Reflections of a Researcher Mediating Between Data and Organization, which is part of my doctoral research. I'm presenting this work on behalf of my co-authors, Marisol Villacres, Milagros Miceli, Benjamín Hernández, and Christopher Dantec, my former advisor. During the last decade, various actors in the field of humanitarian action have proposed analysis of social media data as a promising pathway for non-profit organizations. There are many factors that have led organizations to rush into this option. By conveying a sense of being abundant, openly available, and entailing a deluge of different experiences and opinions, social media data tends to be portrayed as an efficient and effective solution to inform organizations' operations for, first, knowing how to deploy the resources and reporting impact back to funders. However, scholars within critical data studies and STS have issued warnings about using social media data to inform interventions that affect communities due to the particularities of this type of data, including limited representation within datasets. This type of data cannot guarantee that the perspectives and needs it highlights are representative of those who need support. Retaining context, this refers to the difficulty of maintaining the context of social media data when reusing it outside of its place of production. Such characteristics of social media data complicate how organizations in the humanitarian context can extract actionable insights from this data, considering that to be used, social media data needs to be mobilized. And what I mean with mobilize is moving user-generated content from its place of origin, the social media platform, into a different context. Now, despite the limitations of social media data, funders, researchers, and other decision-making actors continue to champion computational techniques to analyze social media data for informing humanitarian action. Therefore, it is critical to better understand how non-profit organizations doing humanitarian work engage with the process of analyzing social media data to make effective, valuable decisions on the ground. We respond to this need by exploring how the culture of objectivity of our partner organization and our commitment to approaching data from a community perspective shape the process of defining, negotiating, and interpreting data, including ground truth data to inform future interventions. This research took place at the beginning of 2020 in Mexico City, when the country was on its highest alert level due to the pandemic of COVID-19. I conducted this research while I was interning with the Accelerator Lab in Mexico, my home country, and the Accelerator Lab belongs to the Accelerator Lab network of the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, which is the United Nations-led agency on international development. In May 2020, the Accelerator Lab launched the project COVID-19 Social Inventory as part of their overall pandemic response. The project consisted of identifying the existing capacities across communities in Mexico City that could support responses to the pandemic. To that end, the team focused on identifying and analyzing citizen-led initiatives already responding to the crisis. We decided to explore data as an option to identify citizen-led initiatives. So, in my role as an intern, I was in charge of mediating the exploration. In this paper, we reflect on the process that the Accelerator Lab experienced to decide on the use of social media data, collectively create ground truth data, and negotiate their meaning, including the limitations encountered. Now, what is unique from this study is that we report from my perspective as a mediator between the organization and the data. And our motivation for conducting this investigation is to show the decisions, negotiations, and trade-offs involved in analyzing digital traces that heavily influence the conclusions that can be drawn from social media data. So this investigation is a practitioner research project in which we use semi-ethnographic methods such as participant observations, reflexive first-person accounts, and the analysis of text documents, especially field notes and memos. We report on 9 months of remote fieldwork in which I interned with the Accelerator Lab, and in total, my engagement comprised around 500 hours in which I assist the Accelerator Lab in various capacities. As a result of our reflexive analysis, we identify 4 key moments from the project. These moments are defining the dataset, defining ground truth, making sense of data, and extracting value of data and communicating insights. These moments of negotiation define the process of mobilizing social media data and the insights we extract from the data. The moments we highlight in our paper are common in any data science project. However, what we describe in our paper is how the decisions of each of those moments were informed by the goals and capabilities of the Accelerator Lab, as well as on-the-ground knowledge and positionality of the researcher mediating between the organization and data, which in this case was me. Due to time constraints, I will not be able to go into detail about each of these moments, but I would like to encourage you to review the paper. Building on our analysis, we unpack 3 assumptions that researchers using computational techniques to promote the use of social media data in nonprofit organizations might face throughout their journey. The first assumption is that the use of social media data is straightforward, fast, and cost-effective. Our analysis provides empirical evidence that extracting value from social media data is not a quick nor cost-effective solution. The abstraction of value from social media data demands at least 3 types of resources from nonprofit organizations: time, flexibility, and freedom. So practitioners need to ask themselves and the organization the following questions. What human resources does the organization have? What level of pressure to act is the organization facing? And what exploration spaces can it afford? The second assumption is that the objective findings are the main value that social media data provides. For nonprofit organizations working in humanitarian contexts, valuable results from datafication entail evidence for deciding when and where to act. In this project, the value lies in the narratives that I, as a mediator, present, which reveal other actors and dimensions of the examined problem that the Accelerator Lab hadn't considered before. For organizations that deliver humanitarian relief, integrating social media data into their work entails recognizing that data alone cannot fully reflect conditions on the ground. Instead, organizations should approach user-generated content as a starting point that needs to be completed with additional information using other sources of data and methods. To that end, it becomes important for the data expert to continuously ask, what are the concepts, frameworks, and beliefs about human behavior that the organization has, and what are the types of decisions that the organization plans to inform through social media data analysis. The third assumption is that the effectiveness of the data expert work lies in the computational methods they use. However, our findings show that we need to consider the context where the data is generated as part of the data analysis. This can help bring a more meaningful and responsible interpretation and use of data. In this sense, it is critical that data experts continuously reflect on their positionality and how it affects their data analysis abilities and decisions. So, researchers engaging in mediating social media data work need to ask themselves, what potential negative effects do I foresee in introducing social media data practices to the organization? And what is my responsibility in the way the organization perceives the potential of social media data? To summarize, the contribution of this research is, first, the empirical evidence of the limitations that entail integrating social media data into the work of nonprofit organizations, and second, the questions we propose to data experts to prompt reflection in identifying and facing the limitations of this type of data.